Hey everyone, welcome to Dallo Podcast, episode 118. This episode, we're going to talk about things going on in our life, Kevin getting a new job, collecting more stuff on the tariffs and how it's impacting toys, comic stuff, and anything in between. So we hope you enjoy this episode. How you guys been?
I'm okay.
Hanging on.
Surviving.
Doing good, man.
Watching anything cool lately, or playing anything just to get it in, get us talking?
Uh, I'm still watching Death Note, and I have seen exactly one half of Thunderbolts.
Oh, I went and saw that today. Fantastic movie.
So
Nice.
I've been
No,
watching my eyelids very little at night, and because I started a new job, so had a lot of anxiety, and you know,
that'll happen.
nothing interesting going on except for, trying to not get fired on my first week.
That's a good thing.
has it been that scary?
No, it's not. I mean, it's stuff I've done before. I mean, it's nothing new. It's a new company, and I'm my own worst critic, if that makes sense. So it's like I'm
We
always
all are.
beating myself up a little bit, and imposter syndrome is real,
Oh yeah,
and
So very real.
and so
absolutely.
it like you always doubt your capabilities a little bit walking into a new situation like that. But on day two, it proved to be pretty. I made myself valuable already, so I think we're off to a good start.
Awesome.
Everybody fakes it until they get it. You
It's
know,
true.
everybody.
I don't even know if you stop faking it once you do get it, right? Because there's always something that you come up that you just gotta yada 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 your way through, and then you
Well,
get to
the
the other
thing,
side and you're like, oh, I did know what I was talking about when I got through that one.
Yeah,
That's
well,
true.
Good thing.
confidence goes a long way. If you can con them into thinking that you know what you're talking about, the only thing you have to worry about is backing it up.
yeah.
But as
Right.
long as you know where to find the information or how to solve the problem, you know,
Yeah.
it's a matter
Or
of
if you've done
following.
All
it
you gotta do.
previously, muscle memory will kick in enough.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been a part of my career saying I can do that and then figuring out how to do that. So,
Yep.
um, you know,
It's surprising how much of jobs just need that, right? Of just
Mhm.
it's weird because I know for myself and my job, so much of where I've gotten has just been like, okay, hey, we need somebody to do X, and it'd be like, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm willing to figure it out, right? It's like just having that willingness to just at least put in effort, right? It's just
Mhm.
weirdly, I don't know if it's lacking or what that is, but
Well, it's kind of amazing. Whenever I was younger, I took a job at a tile and dye and tool shop, and I'd been running, some of the cutters and the lathes, and it was working out. I was, making sure I did everything right, and they needed somebody to handle a big cutter, big machine that made massive bolts. And I was like, man, I can do that, And so I volunteered because I was looking to move up because the more machines you can operate, the more money you can make. And I was sitting there and I was talking to somebody, and he goes, you should probably tuck your shirt in when you're around these big bars. And I said, why? And he said, because if they catch, they're gonna rip you off. They could pull you into the system. And so that stayed with me for a while. Then one day I came in, I was really tired. I got everything set up, got everything checked and the sizes and everything, and I just flipped it on. Well, didn't have my shirt tucked in, and a few seconds later, I didn't have a shirt on. It literally ripped the shirt right off of me, and I was standing there topless, and everybody busted up laughing. I mean, you could hear people cackling at the back of the shop, and I was like, man, that really. Did they have that on the big screen or something?
Man.
I wonder if they were taking bets.
Yeah, I don't know,
When is Shooter gonna lose his shirt?
but the big boss walked up and he goes, "I think you need this." And I said, "Yes, sir, thank you." And I put it on, and I tucked that sucker in. I learned that lesson.
Yeah, that's
I,
cool.
w- I will say I have been self-employed in some capacity for almost 30 years between the music and contracting work for internet security and computer rebuild and stuff like that. Uh, I have been. It's like Kevin said. I am my own worst critic, and sometimes it gets in the way to the point where I will lose a job because I don't think I can do it. And sometimes the confidence is enough, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can handle that. There won't be a problem. And because I've always been a nice guy, I always charge for the good stuff that I do. It's like 25 an hour. But the thing is, I tend to be really good at it, so I can get the job done in like an hour. So it's like there's this company about a half an hour from here. I was referred to them. They called me and said, "Can you come over and look at this?" I came over and fixed their stuff, their entire computer system in like 40 minutes. And I'm like, okay, you know what? It's 25 an hour. That's all you owe me. And they were like, no, that is way too less for everything you coming out here and doing everything and the gas and everything. And paid me a couple $100 worth for my time. But that is because I shoot myself in the foot all the time on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I become my own worst enemy about it. And even though I've been doing this a long time, I still try to be fair to prove that there are good people out there that can do the job and not want to rip you off because a small business is needing help. I go not because I need the money, but because I want to help other companies keep going.
Yeah. And I wonder how much of that is also that it, having been in a position where I was my own boss and did, graphics design and stuff.
Right.
Like I enjoyed it. So like, is there guilt in charging people for a thing you enjoy to do? Like, is it part of it? Part of it,
Yes.
I can serve you in a way that I am good at something and that I'm passionate about. And I don't think that, and we have a hard time valuing that. I think a lot of creatives do, and a lot of people who just, I mean, anybody who is passionate about anything that they can do. I mean, if you're a landscaper, I'm sure there's some landscapers that undercharge on landscaping because they'd love to go out and be in nature and plant and make your lawn beautiful and serve you in that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept to think about, and that's kind of where I've sat a long time with creativity. Like my first passion was art. My second passion was film, right? And both of those things are they're not things that I do professionally, and that's largely because uh, a I think it is doubt in myself and my ability, even though I know I can pick up. I've proven to myself many times over that I can pick up skills and do things that seem impossible to others, but also making that a commodity feels disingenuous sometimes from my perspective. And
Right.
I'm envious of people like like Vince, who was able to create his own comic and like do that for a time, and you know um would love to be in this podcast. I mean, this is a testament to being passionate about something and making it happen, and like putting aside all your feelings about it and just doing it, right? And it's a great product, and I think of that. And honestly, just being involved as long as I have and watching from the sidelines through parts of it, and through all of Vince's comic escapades with Mark and the gang, and it was inspiring. So it's kind of put me in a position to say, all right, just get out of your way and do something for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Professionally, get out of your way, do
Sometimes you
something
got to get out
that
of
you
your
love.
own way.
Yeah,
That's the
Well,
way it is with the music. While I'm
yeah,
working on a project, or be it a song or a full album release or whatever, I get in my own way too much
me
because
too.
I have a lot of friends who are like, yeah, you got this. This is great. Your production and quality is improving, but all it takes is one person to say the right thing or the wrong thing, as it would be,
Yeah,
and it'll start you all over.
it's just as easy to get discouraged as it is to be encouraged, right? Like, and
Exactly.
maybe easier.
Exactly.
Um,
so it's one of those things where, I had to for me doing this, I needed to do something. I needed to do something creative because I wasn't in the right headspace after being carjacked, and
Mhm.
my job wasn't, you know, doing it for me. I love doing IT stuff, but like at the time when I was there, I didn't didn't get the promotions that I was deserved, it's because I worked really hard for that stuff and it just didn't come until later. And it was like right before my grandfather passed away, or that I got the tech two position, and then like COVID happened. I needed something to do. Picking up the mic was the easiest thing to do. Just grab a couple of my friends together and my dad and Colin and just start recording because you'll never achieve anything if you never put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And
Or at least try.
regardless of what it is.
And you picked a great group of people that have some amazing stories and great perspectives to listen to. And I count myself lucky to be on this like panel and be here with y'all to talk through these things. And I know this is very like a deeper topic, obviously, but it's good to see. I mean, like Colin alluded to it earlier, being good people into the world, and like you can see that this group is a group of good people who want to put positivity out there,
Mhm.
and the perspectives are all largely respectful, and maybe there's some teasing and some fun in there here and there, but like overall, it's a positive kind of driving force and can encourage more than it does destroy or discourage. Um, and I guess, I mean, thinking about it based on the topics we're going to cover today, like like, let's just say summer movies, right? Maybe I'm not interested in some, but I try to approach that in the same mindset of if I made a film, I'd want somebody to be somewhat kind to me and not completely destroy me because my film sucks, because my film is going to suck to start.
I
But, you know,
I think you should start with making a movie that you would watch.
yeah.
Because if you won't even watch your own film, why would you expect anybody else to do it?
Yeah.
And you got to understand that there's always going to be those who want to just see you fail.
Hmm.
You know,
Yes.
they can't succeed, so they're gonna destroy everybody else around them. You can't listen to them. You listen to those
Or there,
voices that are positive, the ones who talk you up, or the ones who really enjoy what you're putting out.
What you're
You
doing.
know,
Yeah.
it's great to
Yeah.
listen to you know criticism and that kind of stuff. Like if they're helping you,
Yeah.
but if they're there just tearing you down without giving you any advice to help build you up, there you need to move on.
Yeah.
Kevin, when you were talking earlier today, you said something about one of your bosses and you
Yeah.
doing a. So she saw the background, or was it a he or she? I don't know.
Yeah. So I started a job 2 days ago. On Monday was my first day. Got through the interview without revealing my compulsion to be a giant nerd and have all this cool stuff behind me. And so I guess I had switched the camera to do the podcast, and I had a one-on-one meeting with her in the morning, and I jumped in, and it was the full room. And I was like, well, I was trying to wait to expose you to this level of like where I work. Because you wonder if they think, oh, you're in the middle of a room that could be a lot of fun to be in. Are you, like how much attention is work getting? And to be clear, for legal purposes, all of the attention, it's getting all of it. For the full 8 hours that I'm at work, it's getting all the
Yeah. I
attention.
mean,
Um,
exactly.
but she was like, I quickly tried to like blur it or whatever, turn it back off. She's like, no, 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 that was cool. Let me see what it, and she was looking around. She was asking questions about things like the dumpster fires that I have here. These are all like little dumpster fire vinyl figures.
Yeah.
And she was like, what's that by the TV? And, oh, my sons love Marvel. And, if they saw your room, they would lose their mind. And, and this is more, more times than not, um, the response I get, but I get in my head and I say, what does this say about me? Right. I think it says I'm a fun dude who likes fun things, but what does that say in a professional setting or specifically a corporate setting? And I found that it doesn't say anything negative so far. I'm not saying that it will never get
I
in my way,
would
but I'm saying
I
so
would
far
have
it
just
hasn't.
said, "Oh, it's just a background. It's fake.
Yeah.
It's not real."
I can't touch it.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, and don't ever let. I pulled everything down off my walls in my home once because there was a young lady I was really interested in, and I
Hmm.
finally invited her over to my house, and she was like, "Ugh, oh, so this is what you're into," And I was like, I could see it in her eyes. She was like, "Man, this is a big man kid. He just hasn't grown up yet." And so I just started, later on, started taking pictures down, rolling them up, and moving things out of the living room to, because I was like, I need to be able to present to people one thing that they would expect, keep my personal stuff, my things I like in another room. That way, I don't have to worry about that. But the world
Hmm.
has changed a lot.
Hmm.
What we consider, what when we used to be considered geeks and weirdos is now commonplace. It's everybody's into it. I haven't worked with a boss yet who has not been into something.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I
yeah,
remember at my last job, this was about music. Um, my the guy who was hiring me, and again at the beginning of the job, called me on FaceTime. And I didn't know it was FaceTime, so I answered FaceTime, and I was wearing an Every Time I Die shirt. And he was like, I quickly turned it off. I was like, I mean, you got to imagine he knows you're at home. He's calling you at home to give you a job, that you're probably not wearing your suit and tie, walking up and down your stairs in your own home. But like, I was wearing Every Time I Die shirt, and I like quickly like shifted the phone up, like mindfully of like saying, I'm applying for these corporate like professional jobs, but he goes, "Whoa, bro, you like Every Time I Die?" That I was like, "Yeah, it's my favorite band. I've seen them like 14 times." He's like, "I've seen them like 14 times," and so like it started a whole conversation. It started that relationship off way different than it would have otherwise. And
yep.
I think it's interesting. What it tells me, and what I think you were saying, Vince, is like, don't be ashamed of the things you enjoy, and you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be in everybody's face all the time. You can still have you know have it behind closed doors if you need to, or present yourself in a professional setting. But I was never ashamed. I just always wondered what other people were thinking of it, and how that could affect my trajectory, how that could like affect their opinion from the get-go. Like, we hired this dude who spends a lot of his money, a lot of his expendable income on this other stuff.
I would just be worried. My boss goes, "You know what? I think we pay him too much."
They pay you too much. That was actually one of the jokes at my last job. Like, hey, I think we pay you too much. You're getting these cool things all the time. I was like, no. At the time, two incomes, fairly lucrative, you know, low house note, young kid who needed, not much. So we spent some money. We enjoyed it. And my wife is an enabler. So she says, "Oh, you like that thing? Buy that thing." So like these statues, the Iron Studio Avenger statues that are here.
Now, for anybody watching, that was his kind of offhand blaming his wife for his collecting. She enables
Oh,
it.
no, no, no. She
No,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
enabled.
no,
joking.
that
I'm
was
joking,
direct.
Kevin.
I would have absolutely done it anyway, like done it on my own. But when she says, "No, those are cool, get those," oh man, I was like, I hit the jackpot. What the heck? So her answer was, I was like, I'm gonna buy. At first was the Captain America. I wasn't gonna get any more. I was gonna get Captain America, and I was like, Cap needs a buddy. Thor was on sale, so I bought Thor. I missed out on the Iron Man I wanted, and then this one came back up on the site, so I was like, I'm gonna buy Iron Man. When I bought Iron Man, she says, those are pretty expensive, and I'm like, yes. He says, if they make a Hellboy, I want it. They made a Hellboy a few months
See,
later. I pre-ordered
that's
it.
how the negotiations
Yeah,
start. Yep.
yeah. So made a Hellboy a few months later. They revealed it, and it's now sitting in the upstairs living room. It's sitting in the playroom.
I
So
have a Hellboy that was a sculpt of one of Mike's original, and so its legs are so tiny. on Hellboy and spindly that I
That's
used to have
scary.
it set. I took it to my work and had it sitting on my desk. And the minute somebody would bump my monitor when they were talking to me, it would make him fall over. And I was just so afraid I was going to break one of those legs off. I put him in a bag and he's been put up. But his gun was bigger than his legs. It was
Yeah.
just beautifully proportioned.
Yeah,
You use
I
that
love that comic Hellboy for
as a
sure.
crutch. Use the gun as a crutch, just in case
Yeah.
the leg goes off. He's limping.
He's got a kickstand.
Well, I had him like this, like he's got the gun, like he's gonna blow in it, like he's fired it, or one of those kind of looks that you would expect from Hellboy.
I had a conversation with with my kid's babysitter today, and because she saw all this stuff, and she's like, "That's a lot of stuff. Is it expensive?" I was like, "Kind of." I'm like, "Kinda." And she was like, "Well, what would happen if somebody accidentally broke it?" I was like, "It's stuff. I mean, like it would
Typically.
suck, but it's stuff. Like,
You need to have a box in your closet just of fake bones.
yeah,
This is
this is what happened to the
this is my
lesbian
bone collection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You break it, I break you.
There's a couple of memes out there where people. One of them was where people were redoing the deck outside and they had a fake skeleton down on the bottom of it while they were building it. And then another one was a cabinet with a hollow space with it. And I'm like,
When
those
we
are awesome. Something
when
like
we
that would be most appropriate. What if somebody breaks it? Well, we have this.
we tried to do that
Man.
when we built this house, we tried to bring a fake skeleton and put it in the walls, but they wouldn't do the spray foam around it.
To do the insulation.
Yeah.
We're currently redoing walls in our house, and I am putting together a journal with some really just messed up stuff in it. And I'm just going to toss it in there when we're getting close to being done. So that,
Some
somewhere down
Polaroids
the road,
of
somebody will go redo
Bruce
it and find
Campbell.
this.
I always wanted to put a skeleton with like an old whiskey bottle propped up in my attic way in the back, but I'm too scared to go up in my attic. That thing's frightening.
You could end up being
With the other skeleton with a whiskey bottle.
Yeah.
I won't go up there to give him a companion. Come on.
Don't ever be ashamed of who you are, what you like, what you collect,
Yeah.
your friends, your hobbies, and all that stuff. It is what it is. And every time Kevin was going, I look at this collection, that's a lot. And I'm like, yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be ashamed of who you are. You will eventually find your tribe.
I mean, you see the boxes back there too. I got.
Oh, yeah.
You will eventually find your tribe.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the important part. Like, find the people that are yours and hang on to them, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Form your own bond and let the ones that aren't, let them go.
And
It doesn't
always
matter.
tell the people that matter in your life they matter. Get
Yeah,
real about
absolutely.
it. Because you never know when the last time is going to come.
But it's still good to be mindful of work, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to do what you got to do. Like I couldn't show up to,
Because I do have a boss who and that's the funniest thing about it, right? Is like like what you're saying, everybody has their own thing, and I think with the one group of people that it's hard to get them to understand that the way that they think about, like, say, sports, right, is just as nerdy as we get with our stuff, right? Because I had a boss who I could sit down and talk to him for hours about baseball, and it was great, and it was a super nerdy discussion. But when COVID hit and I was here at home doing everything on camera, there's one side of my room that has all my crap behind me, and there's one side of my room that doesn't have all my crap behind me. And anytime that he would be calling me, I would immediately be like, "Oh," and turn all my stuff around because I did not want to. He would he wasn't the people, right? You know the
yeah,
ones that to
Didn't want to cross the
watch
street.
out for.
yeah. I mean, and
Yeah,
that can be private. It doesn't have. It's something for you. It's not for everybody.
yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be.
But it's awesome whenever you can find, like what you're talking about. You can find somebody who appreciates it that you wouldn't have expected, right? And that's where
Yeah.
it's fun.
I
But
worked
I had a
when I
suspicion
worked
that
at
they really
Enron. I had to dress in a suit and tie every day. It was miserable. So I needed something to make it fun. So I went and bought a collection of Star Trek, Star Wars, Bugs Bunny, you name it, ties. And I wore them every Friday. And it you know, and I mean, I used to have to go in and sit in on meetings and take notes and then go back to HR and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And I'd see them catch when you're sitting in a room and they're talking and they look around the room and then they come back and they look at my tie and they go on. And I used to wonder, if this was inappropriate for that kind of setting. And then one Friday I decided not to, and I wore a regular tie. And I'll be damned if everybody that I passed was like, is everything okay? What's wrong? I was like, what? You're not wearing your tie. We look forward to seeing you, kind of figure out what kind of tie you're going to have.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I did not really think, but that's how it is, especially with people
Right.
you work with every day, 5 days a week. They become just as much your family as your family at home,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know.
And
That's why I have a Legend of Zelda lanyard
I
for my
love
job
it.
because I
I
can't
mean,
I can't like it's not like my old job where Fridays was casual day. You could jeans and a shirt. So I'd wear whatever, theme shirt I had as long as it was appropriate. Now
mhm.
with the new thing, it's like I could still wear my jeans. I just can't, I can't wear anything but polos. So
I think about the show Bones, and Seeley Booth. He had the belt with the belt buckle, and he had the weird socks, but he wore
Yeah.
his his uniform, his suit and tie, but he still had the fun socks and his belt with his belt buckle. And so like, and this is like, you know, portrayal of a man's man, right? Like a dude who uh, rough and tumble, capable. And so like that portrayal, I thought that was cool that they put that little quirk in there.
Yeah.
And to your point, Vince, I would have been one of those people who would have been like, "Hey, what's up with this tie? Like this, what's up with this lame tie? Where's Yosemite Sam or something?"
And I
Like
got a Yosemite Sam in there.
I had a
I
feeling.
got a whole closet full of these,
I thought you
ties
were.
I haven't wore for years now.
Cool.
I thought you were going to go in the direction that you put on like a Superman shirt under your suit and tie,
you'd be
so
like,
that way, just in case. Like,
No, I did that kind of stupid stuff in high school. I, I had a Superman. I had a blue shirt with the Superman symbol. Had a gray shirt with the Batman symbol, but had it always buttoned up where you could only see the color,
yeah,
and it was never brave enough. But I always wanted to run through school and rip it, and then I just know that the football players and all the sports guys would chase me into the parking lot. Um,
it's funny that they have. I mean, they play a game that's based on points. I mean, whether it's a physical game or you're sitting at a table rolling dice for points, or how different really is it? And then you got people who don't play the sport, and excuse me, this is a little ranty, and I'm not judging anybody, but they play fantasy football, and then they want to say it's not D&D for jocks. Um, you're lying to yourself, okay? Like, go get a D&D book and try it. I bet you'll like it, So, um, yeah, I had that conversation with more than one person. Like, try role playing, try a tabletop game, try something else.
Richard.
oh,
I didn't have it with Richard, but
but
No, I mean he
because
loves
he's an anomaly.
RPGs.
He
He
likes
doesn't
both,
he
right?
doesn't he doesn't really do tabletop, but he loves RPGs. But he does the fantasy football. He does the Maddens. Now it's more just Call of Duty, uh
Yeah.
it's funny because he was like that though.
I have to hold on.
disappearance of toy manufacturers
All
due
right. Yeah.
to what's
So
L7.
going on,
we can do that now.
or we do the
Yeah. Let's
movies.
let's go into L7 or whatever.
Super 7. Well, it's not just
Thank
Super 7. It's
Well, it's a lot of them.
It's a lot of them are actually starting to shut down or pulling out of the toy market altogether, especially with the announcement. If you watched the video yesterday from Retro Blasting talking about Hasbro going and pulling pre-orders from retail stores, I'm waiting for it to happen to online retailers, um, which means that
You're gonna have to go direct.
Yeah.
they're either going to go direct or I don't know. Um, the thing is like we got what Magic the Gathering, D&D. I mean, they have other avenues of stuff that they do, and if they're pulling pre-orders from Targets and Walmarts and Best Buys, I don't know what it's going to be because you already have stuff that is slated all the way up until next year as far as like
Yeah.
Transformers with like the Studio Series, Devastator. You've already got the Combaticons they're working on for Transformers. Then you've got all the Marvel Legends stuff, especially with the the maximum Marvel Legend figures, the Spidey
I
and the Hulk figure, Star Wars. I mean, there's a lot. And
I
then
need my X Factor Jean Grey. Just don't cancel that one. I need that. I
hey,
gotta have it.
I paid for my Rattler. I want my Rattler. Please make sure that happens because I paid for that. But it's really scary. And then Super 7 has just now announced that they're going to be laying off a bunch of people, which, you know, with their product in general is about $60 per figure.
Hmm.
And there's was some new Thundercats ones. There was the 2003 Turtles figures, the there's quite a few others that they were working on that they're just not going to happen now because they're going to go out of business because of the tariffs because they can't afford to have their product manufactured in China and have it shipped here and then have
Well,
to pay a tariff to get it off the boat.
my concern is this: the administration has made a deal to delay tariffs uh, for 3 months, 90 days. But that doesn't change anything. There's no guarantee of a trade deal, and it just puts us in limbo even longer. And I would hate to be a business that had to, map out a year's worth of product and not know whether 3 months down the road, I'm going to be able to provide it, or is my demand going to just dry up and disappear? I was hoping for something, and we didn't get it. We got just more hurry up and wait. Um, I can't see anything improving over, the next 3 months.
There was one manufacturer, I don't know who it was. I just remember briefly reading it that stated that they're going to eat the cost because they want to keep the price down for the consumer. They
I
would
don't
eat
think
the
you
cost.
can though.
But I don't know how you're going to be able to do that.
How
Uh,
would you? Can you stay in business?
well, and
Are you
depending
going to
on how
cut?
much
You're going
volume
to
of product and how much that's going to be taxed off of.
Well, and then think about how, are you going to start cutting your labor costs? So that means you're going to start laying people off.
You-
Um,
You're gonna
it's
have to
never
make.
as simple.
Yeah, I mean, so like, okay, so I my last job I worked at a logistics brokerage, and what they did was buy and sell freight, and so um during COVID they had a real big boom, and it's kind of a cyclical market, and I'm gonna bring this back around to toys, I promise, but the idea is when things got tough, they would cut staff like to bare minimum, to operating bare minimum, which sucks. Um, but they made a lot of money during COVID and for a year or two after that. And then it dove back down and they had to lay off a bunch of people. A lot of carriers, lots of trucking companies went out of business. Like mom and pop stuff. But I think but that's freight. Like that, it costs what it costs, and the margins aren't, they're not
Yeah,
very
they're
high.
very high.
I
Yeah.
think in toys manufactured in China, there in the price that, well, let's say Super Seven's making, putting on these toys, I'm wondering how high the actual markup is on it, because I would imagine, I mean, obviously you have the tooling and having hiring the factory, and the cost of materials and the cost of shipping and all that stuff. So like a tariff probably puts a big damper on that, especially when you're talking about 150%. But um like at least I think reduction in cost, eating some of the cost of the tariff. I mean, I ordered something from Mondo today, from Mondo Shop. It came with a $20 tariff surcharge. But they also started charging for shipping, which was $31. I think that that's somewhat suspicious. And this is not trying to throw any shade at Mondo, but like I think it's somewhat suspicious that it was free shipping on all 1/6 scale figures since the dawn of time for 1/6 scale figures from Mondo. Now there's a $31 shipping charge there, which is, you know, and they're shipping direct to consumer. The figures that I've gotten, they're shipping from China to, well, at least my experience was from China to me, right? So, uh, all of that to say, I think there's significant I mean, like a $240 1/6 scale figure, like there's no way it cost them. Like, there's plenty of margin in there for them, right?
Oh
To
yeah.
eat it for a little while at
To eat it
least.
for a little while. Yeah, as long as it's not like long term, it won't put them out of business.
Well, think about
Well,
like the Ghostbusters they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I have Peter pre-ordered through Big Bad, and I had to pay, their,
Percent.
layaway fee or the fee or whatever. And
Yeah,
then,
percent or something.
but like I haven't ordered Egon yet because I really want. Um, is it Sam Hain who comes with him, or no? It's
um,
Boogeyman. I think it comes with
yeah.
Egon, and like, so I'm like debating on whether I'm just going to order it from them. But it's like, man, that thing is already 150 through them with those two figures, and then you look at like what the charge is going to be for the tariffs and then the shipping now. I'm just like, and then on top of that, with all this going, if I continue to invest in this, are they going to do Winston and Ray? Are we going to get the rest of the figures? Because they could go out of business too.
Yeah. I mean, they revealed Winston, and they had a date on that, I thought. Ray, I don't think they've shown, but I'm not 100% certain. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think there's some companies that have leadership at the right levels looking at these tariff fees and making wise and sympathetic decisions. And I think there's others that are just saying, uh, kind of throwing in the towel a little bit. And the optics for me, not knowing much about why Super 7 laid off people, is that there's a little bit of that going on. Could possibly somebody not making the best
Decisions. Yeah.
decision for them, their employees, their
Well, it's
company, and their consumers.
well. The problem is that they don't really care about the customers as long as they're buying.
Yeah.
Their shareholders are who they're beholden to,
Right. Comes down
Yeah.
to the bottom line,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I
and
think
they
you guys
promise
which is
a
sad
certain.
because there was always going to be that 1 in 10 that cares about the customers and know that they're the reason they're successful. But it's become such a profit-driven industry now that not only do they not care about what the customers think or want, but they charge exorbitant prices for what
Mhm.
they do offer, and then they wonder why nobody wants what they're offering when nine times out of 10, it's miscellaneous garbage.
Yeah. Well,
It's like,
let's
for example, recently we shared the post in the chat about the new Star Wars stuff that's coming out. That's like a version 2 of the original Cantina set.
Mm-hmm.
They're redoing all of the original figures that came with the Cantina set, like Blue Snaggletooth, the original.
Yeah, and the original colors too,
But
which is great.
they're 90% accurate because Hammerhead's got some slightly different attire going on, and Blue Snaggletooth is completely reworked. Now, I've owned 2 of the original Blue Snaggletooths, and they both have disappeared on me, which is just giving me the red ass to this day. But I'm willing to pay the $70 to get that other version of the Blue Snaggletooth so that I'll have one version of it again.
Mm-hmm.
They know that there's going to be that minimal market that wants that. So they're going to keep charging that.
Yeah.
They don't care that other people saying, okay, let's not focus on this. Let's focus on these things, these legacy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Here's one thing.
And how much product is already here that they're charging tariffs on? That tariffs are the stuff that would come in now, not on what's already
Right.
here in the
Anything
United
that's
States.
pre-ordered within the time frame of the
Right.
tariff imposure.
And
But the
yet
thing
they're
too
still
is
charging for as if
And
they
we
were
did talk about
tariffs.
not
we did
all
talk about that.
places, like because Big Bad
No,
Toy
but
Store
some of
has
them
their
are.
stuff. Big Bad Toy Store still has their prices at if it's in stock, normal prices. They don't have the tariff thing. But if
Mhm.
it's something that came in once they impose that tariff thing, that's when it gets it.
Right.
But we know that once we weather the storm of this, the prices unfortunately are not going to go back down.
No,
No, they're going to
They
hold.
know
because
the
they know what
threshold,
your limit is. They know
yeah,
that okay, this is what you're willing to pay. That becomes the new
and that'll be the
baseline.
death. That'll be the death of toy collecting.
I wonder if it won't though, and this is why I spin it. And this is how I'm going to spin it. There's a lot of people who were let go from Super 7 that are in the creative teams and creating these figures. There's probably going to be more of these creatives going back to, the job market, and there's a possibility to see new crop of toy manufacturers or toy companies coming out of
Exactly.
this
Could be.
who may, refresh to some extent, you know, um, the
Providing
market of
competition.
toys and like collector interest. It's possible that they still, aim at like high prices,
Right.
but maybe because there's a variation, there's more variety. Maybe it forces it back down, right? It forces more companies to be more competitive.
You're talking about competition,
Yeah,
which
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't get a lot of competition here in America anymore. You're
Yeah.
talking about an older style of an older
100%.
economy, which doesn't exist anymore.
Manufacturing and everything too.
Right.
It's going to take, if even with the best of things going on, to get manufacturing, whether it's toys, cars, whatever,
Hmm.
moved to the United States, it's 10 years.
Yeah.
We don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the ability to support any kind of manufacturing. So within that 10-year period, hopefully there'll be some kind of innovation. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of innovation already going on now, and automation has been driving force for job loss for decades. So if they can find a way to do them and build them cheaper, that's fine. They'll make money. Will they pass that on to the consumer? Probably not.
Yeah.
Look, you can kind of compare this to pharmaceuticals. In the United States, the pharmaceutical company, we don't challenge them. We don't demand a price for them. We let whatever the market will bear.
Mhm.
Other countries know what it costs to make these products,
Mhm.
and they allow for a certain margin of profit. Anything above that is considered price gouging. So as long as we have the market drives the price, I don't see anything ever going backwards. And to prove that is it never has.
It never has. Yeah.
Nothing has ever returned to its original base price, even with all the innovations in technology. It just keeps going up, incremental, slowly, slowly. Oh, there's a little bit of pain. People are complaining. We'll back off for a little bit. All right, now we know they're willing to spend a little bit more. We're going to keep creeping up.
So, and
Um,
that's another thing too, is like I've seen a lot of comments of people who are posting in some of the toy groups of like, oh, well, that's good. That's why I collect retro toys or retro games. And it's like you don't realize that this is going to impact you guys too, because people are going to go to try to get that stuff, which is going to drive the prices up for that because the demand is there. And it's like you guys should be complaining about what's going on over here and not thinking that you're exclusive in this group that's not going to be affected by it.
I
Because
mean,
I'm sorry, but like people are going to want to go and get those 3 3/4 GI Joe figures that that have been kind of slowly decreasing just a little bit
yeah.
because the classified stuff has been good and other figures have been good. But once everybody starts going to that because they can't get this modern stuff,
Yeah.
do you think that's gonna keep your prices down? That's actually gonna take product out of your window that you would normally have because it's gonna be stretched. The product's gonna be stretched so
we're
thin.
already seeing it now with used cars. Prices of used cars are going up. Why?
It's too
Because they
expensive to
can't.
buy cars. Yeah, new
Yeah.
cars. Yeah. So and it's so dumb that people don't pay attention to this stuff, and we have the power to say something and do something about it, but we don't. Um, It's like if it
impulse.
doesn't.
So for me, I wasn't gonna buy any figures. Mondo put up that pretty little Nightcrawler today, and I was like, you know what? I'll just uh I was like, damn it, I gotta have that one.
Well, I mean, what somebody posted a meme about the Switch 2, right? It was like everybody was complaining about the Switch 2's prices, and yet the pre-orders on that sold out like that, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, are we at, is the populace actually going to fight back with their wallets, or are
Well,
you just all about the talk and not about the walk, and you're just gonna, you know,
how much of those people
yeah,
are
well,
actually
I
scalpers?
need it. I need to get it.
No, but that's the
Well, no.
truth.
How much
We have the power. We've
we
always
do?
had the
We
power.
do have the power.
Whether we will have the strength and endurance to hold off or practice it is exactly what these guys are saying, and that's the truth. You
Hmm.
know, you people think, okay, well, I'm going to complain about it, but I'm going to go buy this,
Yeah,
and that's you're setting your own double standard.
yeah,
See, like I never complained about the
yeah.
price.
I won't complain. I
Yeah,
won't complain about
I
price.
didn't complain at all. But my thing was is that I there wasn't anything out there for me to get it. But I went ahead and tried and I got it. Or well, we'll be getting one and I can, do unboxing and, you know, be able to make a couple videos off of it.
Yeah,
But the thing is that I guarantee because you can go look the moment the pre-orders went up, there was tons of eBay listings because there was a tons of people that are scalpers that went and got this system, guaranteeing that they know that mom and dad are going to be scrambling for Christmas to get this item, and they're not going to care about whatever they pay for it.
Or just tell your kid, hey, I know you really, really wanted the Switch 2 this year, but you're not, right? Like
Exactly.
again,
Well, you're
like you
right.
don't,
You're right.
this is the fun thing about adulting is you don't actually have to buy it, right? Just because
absolutely.
your kid begs you for it doesn't mean you have to get it for
You're
them.
you're
So if
exactly right.
scalpers want to go out and have those Switch 2s sit on, and collect dust on their shelves until those SOBs go bankrupt, which they probably never will, but that's beside the point. It's like then
Hmm.
you do that, right? Like it's that's what we were talking about like, just last episode about that ability, the one kind of silver lining that might have come out of this is trying to teach us a better impulse control in
Yep.
these things,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I need, maybe I don't need to buy every, a box of this or all these new figures or every single, Kickstarter for a thing that even looks remotely cool to me. It doesn't mean I need to jump on every single one of them.
Exactly.
Maybe for
Did you?
the betterment of our financial and mental health and for that of our kids, it's like, you know what? We need to learn to say no more often and teach each
But
other to
Yeah,
say
but
no
here's
telling
the
more
that to
often.
thing.
the
Here's the thing. You can't go, Billy, I'm sorry, you're not getting the Switch 2. But Dad, didn't you just get one? Yeah, but I have a job.
Yeah, no, well, no, that's what I'm saying. You don't get it, period.
no,
Oh
what
man, I really want to play the new Mario Kart. Okay, well, you still have the old Mario Kart and it still works just fine, right? And
Yeah.
it's still
It's still
really
Mario
fun, does
Kart.
all that stuff. Is like, is it really going to be that big of a change on the new one? Oh, but there's going to be new features. Like, yeah, there's going to be new features, but you got to walk yourself back. Otherwise, like what y'all are saying, their companies are never going to come down. They're never going to drop it until they start seeing those revenues decline. And when the revenues start
Yeah.
declining, that's whenever like y'all are saying, hey, they're going to feel the pain and then they're going to back off. It's like, okay, well, you keep testing, where that skin is, and it eventually forms a hardening point until they start testing it again, which they're like a child, right? They're always going to test that boundary because they always want dessert before dinner constantly. But if we can like stand a little bit stronger than just, oh well, I was gonna buy two Switch 2s, but now
I've only
I'm
bought
only gonna get
one.
one. It's like, no, no, don't buy
One
any
and
and
all.
just
Yeah,
call like
exactly.
just walk away from it. Like it's okay. It's okay, guy. Like again, I was there's I get emails every now and then of like some game that's coming out. I'm like, that sounds like some board game, and it's like that sounds really, really cool. But as even my daughter was talking to me the other day, she's like, Daddy, why do you have so many board games and we don't play like half of them? I'm like,
Mm.
Something's
that's
got to fill those
that hurt.
holes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Uh, well, here's
Yeah.
the thing
Make
about
sure
that
boys
though,
are
is
back.
that us as the consumers that are in the know can make that change, but you can't change the people that
Don't know.
don't know, that don't pay attention to it, that
maybe
will
not.
just sit there and impulse everything. And
Yeah,
unfortunately,
but eventually they run out of money, right? I mean,
There it
that's
is.
what it comes down to.
Can you
hopefully they run out of
imagine
money.
if when
Well, I
you
mean,
went to
things
go
get
buy
expensive
a
enough.
game, a toy, or something like that, it was like going to a drug house to go buy your because basically that's
Get
we're
your
getting our
fix.
fix. So the guy comes out and he's like scratching and he's a
Don't get
couple
any
guys
more of
behind
them.
him with guns.
I
You
mean,
know,
I could use like an accountability teller or something. You know, like
Right?
so like if I go to the checkout, they'd be like, "When's the last time you bought a game?" And I'm like, about a month ago."
Come
But
on,
really,
scratching. You got any more of
Have
them?
you
Well,
have you beat that game yet?
the
yeah,
pro
is the game
Huh?
finished?
the problem is that I would be, yeah, the game's finished, and like four others are finished too, and
Yeah.
then
well,
I
it's
buy.
funny.
See,
Like,
I'm
But
not.
then there's
I'm sitting there looking at like, well, it's 75% of the way done.
Yeah.
Is 75% of the way good enough for me to get another one, please?
You've got a busy schedule. That makes sense.
it's funny when you go to Target. There's always that smart ass, excuse me, clerk, right? And I'm like buying something for Vince, and he looks at me and goes, "Oh, you into that? No, that's for my son." He's like, "Yeah, all right, right. $52." Little man put that money right in this.
You want to talk to my 43-year-old son? Sure.
Oh no, that would make it
Hey,
worse.
It makes
no, no, yeah. This is a
talking about
clerk
enablement.
at Target, right? This is a cashier at Target. Come talk to me when you work in IT somewhere, you
Oh,
know.
I ain't gonna do that. I've worked retail, and that they work hard.
Mm-mm.
No,
Nope.
and not no, they do work hard, but you can't sit there and have like that kind of mentality, like, oh, you're collecting
Well,
toys.
if you
Like,
work
well,
behind a register and you have to deal with, what, all day long because nobody comes in there. Very few people come in there and talk to them like they're people.
yeah.
There's something wrong in America where the minute you're behind a counter in front of a register, all of a sudden you become the lowest of the
Indentured
low.
servants. Yes.
Yeah, and then
yeah, so well, that's the same thing with fast food. People do that too.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the
It's
same
everywhere.
thing. It's
Yeah,
just
there's a different see, like, but the thing is that being the person that's working in that job, that doesn't mean that you should give in to that bullshit. And two, you shouldn't, like, if you're gonna be, you know, a good salesman or anything, you got to have a little bit of, like, what, couth to understand the not keep creating that negativity.
I think that applies to everybody though.
Yes.
Like judgment. Like like how about we don't? Like that's the whole thing.
Hey,
Like
how
just
about
don't.
that?
Like just am
let's
I gonna
just
judge this? How about we don't? That's the answer.
Yeah.
Uh,
honestly,
Did you crawl out of a rock from from like 20 years ago? Because like pop culture is like really big right now, and
yeah. Haven't you seen all of the superstars in Hollywood who are playing, clamoring to get a Marvel deal? Like,
yeah.
come on.
when I go to buy something at the store, if they have a smart remark, I let them have it.
Yeah.
I don't say
a
anything.
smart remark or what you were buying.
That doesn't
Get
matter
back.
because they need to have their outlet too.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh yeah.
they're in
Yeah.
a factory grind. If they have, oh, you're into that type of stuff, I just kind of nod or whatever. Let them have their moment. I go out and I have my prize, and boom, done.
I diffuse it. I ask them what they're into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Diffuse it.
They're like, "Oh,
Now,
you collect action figures?" I was like, "Yeah." What do you like? And they're like, "Oh, you're asking me a question."
yeah, you're engaging.
Well, I collect My Little Pony, or whatever.
Hey, that's a market.
Yeah.
Now,
So
Vince,
what do you like? Oh my God, this guy's hitting on me.
Mhm.
yeah, he
What can
It's
I
great.
say?
must have pinched you buns. Vince, I remember that. I wish we could go back to the days when scalpers were just involved with concert tickets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That was it. That was their market.
But they,
You
they were already doing scalping on other things too. I mean,
Yeah,
but it was concert tickets where
but
you
when you
saw
heard the
the
word
most.
scalper in the 80s, back in our day, when you
Yeah,
heard the
we
word
consider
scalper,
it
it
was
was,
for
oh,
concert
okay,
tickets. Yeah, or
want to go see
baseball,
Van
football,
Halen.
some kind of game that was sold out. Anything
Right.
that people really wanted to go to that you had tickets for that you could, make a
Yeah.
couple of bucks off. I used to know guys who would buy them just to be scalping. You
Mhm.
know,
You know,
Yeah.
it was just, hey, if you wanted to go see this sport event or you want to go see Van Halen, you're going to pay 20, $30 extra
Mhm.
because you're going to be part of that experience. And
What
back
do
in
you
the
call
day,
that?
it was an experience.
Well,
Now
yeah,
it's just all
20
mass.
bucks, man, like $20 for something that you really want. That's not bad of a upcharge, but when
No,
it's
that was before they started
3 to
charging
4 times the price of
that
the item now.
Exactly.
for a concert, man. $600 for one concert,
That.
one ticket. No, sorry, I
That's when
don't
it
like
got
any
nuts.
band enough for that. I'll go listen to the CD.
That's
Yeah.
where I do have self-control. When people mark when secondhand, when resellers get their hands on a thing I want and it goes that price just goes up.
Exactly.
I have 0% of the time. I've never bought one.
I've
They,
never
they
bought the
Bought a
inflate
same.
their
company.
own market, their own
Yeah.
predictions. That's when it got out of hand. When you had
And
bands that were charged like the Eagles,
and to counteract it, sometimes I'll buy, like if I can afford it. So like NECA stuff when they were putting out turtles, I'd buy two. And then
Oh, yeah.
I'd see a scalper post about, hey, I got this, it's $80. I was like, hey, I got one for 40, you can have it. I've
Well,
took
that's what I did
yeah.
when back in the day. I bought two, sold one for enough to cover mine,
Mhm.
you know, and then mine was free, and they got one, and it was definitely cheaper than anything they could get anywhere else,
Yeah.
especially online.
Yeah.
And and we didn't really have online back then.
Yeah, I
No,
think
it
it
was
was a different
always the
time too.
VPS boards and stuff.
Now they know
But
they got a whole world of people who will buy from a scalper, right? Like they have a whole, other people had you had to deal with your local people to get your local products.
Mhm.
Now you go to eBay and they're there. They'll ship it anywhere in the world for you, you know.
Yeah. Back in the
I can
day,
remember some of our friends. Do you remember? They go, "Hey, let's go to a concert this weekend," and like, it was sold out. They go, "Oh no, somebody will be selling tickets."
yeah,
And
and
it's
they were
like,
usually on the corner of the
Yep.
building or something like that.
yeah.
Okay, this is the scalper's corner. You go over there and talk to them, pay a few extra bucks, you get in just the same.
And they'd sit there and they'd watch. You go up to the gate to see if there were any other tickets for sale. And as you turn around to walk away because they knew you were going to be told no, hey man, are you looking for tickets? I got a couple here. Man, my first thing I was always like, are they together? Because you don't want to go to a concert,
Right.
with four people
Or
and
sporting
you were
event. Yeah.
scattered all to the
Yes.
winds in there.
Walkie talkies.
Oh,
You couldn't hear shit, but
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's just
This one went
gotten
off the
bad.
rails.
It's gotten bad as
Yeah.
far as scalping. I mean,
And of course, circling it back around to when companies start laying off people and stuff like that, it makes it worse because there's fewer options and the things that are already out there become inflated because they already are aware that these companies are laying off and there's going to be less of them out there. And it ties into what we were talking about last week when the first shipments from China started coming over and sitting in the docks, like in the port of LA, that are half full of this merchandise that's being marked up 2 or 3 times the price on speculation, and you didn't even know if what you were looking for was in there.
Mhm.
I got my headphones, by the way.
oh,
Oh,
finally.
you did.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
They showed up today.
How are they?
Yeah, they're great. They're pretty insane. For the
Nice.
heavy
Are they
metal,
retro like mine with the cool LED light? That's what
I don't
Ryan
have
always says. Man, I love your LED.
they're pretty
Like,
cool.
man, it's just what I
I
got.
got a cup in today, or not yesterday.
That's
That's
cool.
a cup.
Can you drink coffee out of it?
I mean, maybe once I form him back into the
Okay.
triple T.
What kind of cup is that? It doesn't look
Yeah,
really
it
like
looks like
cup.
a
It looks like
photograph.
a robot.
It looks like a lens for a camera on the back there.
Oh, those are treads.
Oh, okay. Because let me guess, he turns into like a lunar lander.
No, he turns into Sergeant Slaughter's triple
Oh,
T.
that's the one. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Like a year ago, they were redoing the Sergeant Slaughter thing. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, the only one I really wished I'd gotten and couldn't afford it at the time was the transformable Ecto one.
Oh man, I almost bought that too.
I have it.
Yeah, I know you have it.
If I would have bought it, I would have sent it to events because it wouldn't have fit in my collection. but long term, it was one of those impulse. I did buy the Ecto one HasLab.
You
The
did
We
with
almost
the
did. We almost did with some.
yeah,
the big tier, the one with
yeah,
the
the biggest
Yeah,
tier. Yeah,
that went
that
away
one.
quick though.
yeah.
I had two pre-order. I mean, two and two that ordered, and then we had some stuff come up that I had to cancel it.
I mean,
But
it's
I
a
will
lot.
tell you guys this. I told Vince this. Um, do you know the guys who are making like the tricorder? They've made the communicator, and then
Oh
they've made the
yeah,
phaser. Right? They're authentic props. They function. They work. Screens work. The discs works on the tri. I long time ago entered into for the lotto for that. And I got my notice that I made it into the lotto. I'm guaranteed one of those, and they've not raised the price. It's still the original $299, so $300. Um, that thing is going to go for $1,000 in a
Yeah.
heartbeat once they.
Yep.
I wonder if these, smaller teams of people still know, like have it in, they're making these collectibles, these pieces of memorabilia, these props, and they still remember why they did it. You know,
Oh,
it's
the
not really
detail they
all
put in that comes from a deep
a
love.
love. Yeah. So, I think you see, and I mean, like, that's just the way of things. Like, things grow, and that's
yeah.
everybody wants to grow,
Grow and evolve.
Yeah.
and evolve. And so I think sometimes even things within your control grow outside of your control,
Mhm.
grow bigger than you want and are more expensive than you want them to be. Yeah, maybe that's what happens. Like being positive about it, maybe that's what happened to Super 7. Maybe they grew too big. They had to charge, continue charging those
Took on its
prices.
own life.
Have to start. They have a retail store or had a retail store. They're operating in like one of the most expensive cities in the country. I think San Francisco, or I don't
Well,
remember
and
where.
for a while there, they were the only they only did online retailers,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then it wasn't just like until like the last couple of years that they started showing up in Targets or yeah, it's
I
really
thought,
just Target.
yeah. Uh, I thought they just released to Target
Yeah,
at
I
the end
think it
of the
was.
year last year.
I think they did just
I think
last
it
year.
was
Didn't we
last year.
talk about that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like a
Because I
one.
know NECA's pulling out of Target, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
My hope is that some of the people that get let go are going to hook up with another company who let people go, and they're going to say, "Hey, we have these same goals, we have these same skill sets, we know what we need to do this," and they can find a couple of investors and say, "All right, we need to be able to get these machines and these tools, and we can get back into it because we have the knowledge to get back up on our feet and start
Mhm.
a new company." That's what I hope to see.
Yeah.
Expand that competition market, because
Yeah.
once
Well,
that
I
starts
don't know
happening, then the
how
whole market
combining
will collide.
two. I don't know how much two companies combining into one helps with competition, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about two companies. I'm talking about the employees that are let go.
Right. Oh, so they get together and then they
Start a
form their
new
own
company.
company.
yeah, they
So
formed
you're
their own company.
generating a new company. I could see that. I would love to see
That
that.
There's
that
a
would
lot
help
of
create more drive, more competition in the market, which would help bring the prices back down. And if this tariff thing goes through with China, where they back it down, they could get in on the ground floor. You
Yeah.
know, they say we have all these people, we have all this knowledge, we just need the investors for this equipment, and we can get going. And that could be a 6 or 8 month turnaround, which most investors will understand. You know, it's 12 to 18 months. But if you have the right people with the right knowledge and they can turn it around faster, that means possibly more profits, more notability, whatever. And they can even advertise, yeah, we have people from this group and from this group, and that will add to their credibility.
And I would want them, the thing I don't like about capital, what do you call them? Uh, Type of investors is they give to a business, help build it up under the pretext that they're going to sell it as
Mhm.
soon as it's successful. Venture capitalists.
Yes.
Um, and that's a problem we also have where they help these startups get good and you start being interested in them and they're going to buy, and all of a sudden they sell them. And
Right.
then whoever buys them is usually a larger corporation, and the first thing they do is they reduce the product, you know, cheapen what it's made out of. They
Or
just make
absorb
major
into what they've
changes.
got going on and dissolve the company they bought.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Mondo, for instance, was very niche for a while, and I was collecting like their screen printed posters and
Yes.
some of their other memorabilia,
Their
uh,
records.
their
Mondo
record
Mondo
mainly.
was
Well,
great.
Funko bought them, right? And they did a lot of they had a lot of layoffs, but I feel like, and this is not, I love the team at Mondo was always really creative and doing cool things, and
Right.
they did land other places and they did create other companies, and they are making the things that they were passionate about now, right? And they're still making it. So you saw them land elsewhere, and I think Mondo looks different, and purists of Mondo may not love where they're at now, but Mondo's making toys for animated series Batman. You know, they're
Yeah.
making Thundercat toys. They're making real Ghostbuster toys. They're making
Motu.
X-Men toys, Motu, and the juggernaut that is Funko probably had a large percentage, a large influence in getting them there.
Hmm.
Um, so we got something. If you can afford it and if you can put your mind around, I'm going to pay Mondo prices for these boutique figures. Um,
Well,
you got a cool
I've got
product out
one
of there, and
thing.
you got the same things out of other
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
I was gonna say, as a collector of anything,
Mhm.
know your limits. Just, same thing as like being a gambler and alcoholic. Know where to set your boundaries. Be ready to walk away from something.
Mhm.
Don't give in to the pressure to get it. Don't hurt yourself to get it.
Yeah.
And I see that people put themselves in financial bind, maybe not just for them, but because of the what is it, the in competition with the Joneses, the old
Yeah.
saying, you
Keeping up with
know,
the Joneses.
yeah, they come in some person's house and go, I don't have, mine looks so. I'm going to build out on mine and make it look like that, and then somebody else comes and say, well, I'm going to make mine better. Well, did you? Yeah, are you happy with everything you did,
Yeah.
or were you competing in some kind of artificial race that doesn't exist?
So, in a moment of vulnerability here, um, I've fallen victim to the perception and the hype, right? Um, and to say that impulse control is not my strong suit probably an understatement. Um, but I'm working on it. So I've put parameters on it. I've never been the worst, but I have an addictive personality. And when I do something, I do it full force and I want all of it. And so I have put parameters on myself, and I'm, winning and losing battles on a regular basis on that one. Um, Today, and what it did today, I did purchase a figure and a pretty expensive one, and it went out a little bit outside of my parameters, but it was within my parameters of saying that, like, if they make animated series X-Men in 1/6 scale, I will buy all of them. I have not bought them all. But I haven't bought the villains. I've bought the X-Men, right? I haven't bought Magneto. I didn't buy Sabretooth. So I've kind of followed my rules. But like even a year ago, I probably would have bought every item that was there. And it was the same with video games. Like, I mean, Vince and I played a lot, right? So we played a lot together on video games.
Yeah.
And there was always something new coming out that we'd talk all about playing. And there were a lot of those games that we didn't play together. Like a lot of our, we would buy and play a little bit. We would wind back up on Halo or
Halo.
Call of Duty or Rainbow
Rainbow
Six
Six. Yeah.
Vegas. And so, it would sit there and collect dust. And
So, do you think? I know I'm getting off topic. That video stores helped people control their impulse buying
yes.
because you could rent something, a game,
Mhm.
especially in gaming. You could rent a game, play it till you beat it,
Mhm.
let it go, and you didn't shell out the money that you would have
Yeah.
shelled to have the game, and then maybe not liked it. It's sitting on a shelf. Now, one thing Vince does, if he doesn't like it, he'll take it and trade it. You know, um,
Or at
which
least
is
finish it, and because that way I get my, my worth out of it, and then I
Yeah.
Or I'll go and say, "Hey, does anybody want this or whatever?" I just give it to my friends. I don't
Yeah.
unless I can just go get it. Like there's something I really really want that's coming out. I'll go take a games I've finished and just trade them in because it's not doing anything good on my shelf when somebody else could be able to play it later on or anytime.
Yeah.
So if there are any toy manufacturers who happen to see this episode, please complete some of the series that deserve it
Mhm.
and quit making duplicates. I don't need 400 Batmans. I don't need,
Right.
2000 Spider-Mans.
I'll take every Wolverine though. That's okay.
Not every Wolverine is great. And I'm
I'm
a huge
joking.
Wolverine
I'm
fan.
I'm joking.
Every Spider-Man 2099 except for
Every
But like with
Spider-Man genre.
with aliens or aliens, Predator, or not Predator is a bad example. What are some where they make one of or two of the character line and then they don't ever give you anybody else? But they'll remake that one 4 or 5 times in a different form. I
Yeah.
give me
Again,
some of
Star
the
Wars.
yeah,
Hasbro's
give
done
me
it a lot.
yeah,
Star Wars.
Hasbro, yeah,
A
yeah.
prime example.
Or they make characters that you don't want and mass produce those in volumes that get resold to Ollie's and
and then
Ross.
they sit there and
Exactly. There
they
you
But the
go.
become part
figures
of
you
the
but the figures you do want, they limit those.
And people go into Toys R Us or whatever and buy all them out. So
And
you
the
got all
scalpers
the,
take all the stuff and it's
well,
like,
they
okay,
become
well,
load-bearing walls at the store. They
and you end
stack
up
up
with, yeah,
all the
you end up with Endor, Han, and Leia and buy like 30,000
And
extra.
Lando Calrissian.
wait. Indoor Leia right there.
Mhm.
Lando.
You know, Ewok with a little extra greenery or something like that.
I will say, so I got a notice from Big Bad Toy Store today that told me my X Force 2-pack Warpath and
Oh, and X-23, or isn't it?
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wait,
it's here. So it's coming or it will be in stock soon. So I'm happy about that because that kind of does. I mean, I still got to get the Archangel, but Uncanny X Force team is kind of done.
well, that's cool.
That'll make me happy for a little while. So Hasbro does do it, but like X Force were too like or not X Force, X Factor. We got X Factor Cyclops again in his actual colors, the red and
colors. Yeah,
or
yeah.
yellow and blue. And now, Target, if they don't cancel my order, please don't. Jean Grey in her X Factor, but we don't have Beast. We don't have, Iceman. It was Iceman, right? I can't remember.
Well, in X Factor,
It was the
it
originals,
was
right?
original. The original was Beast, Iceman. It was all the originals back because they
Okay.
went to go
And it go,
find Jean
yeah.
Grey, who had been resurrected. But I love those costumes, but I've never actually seen all of those figures produced in the original X Factor.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Costume.
I they keep alluding that they will do it. And I think Hasbro's had a better track record of doing it lately, but
Yeah,
they'll
lately.
keep you on the hook for a while.
Well, the problem too is that they do like the production run of some of these figures and stuff, and it's like when you go back to go get it, or you maybe come late to getting it, you miss out on some of the figures, or like the Vulture and Spider-Man 2-pack for the animated series that I just completely missed out on because, I didn't have the money at the time.
Yeah.
I really want that to go with my Spider-Man animated series figures, but right now it's $100 and something, and I don't want to spend that much for a two.
All I know is Marvel better do a good job of the new Fantastic Four figures
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
because I want to take Reed and have him on my shelf pointing over at the guy from Last of Us or
Joel.
is it
Joel.
Joel, and then whatever other ones of him that I can find, you just have them pointing at each other
Mandalorian.
on a shelf.
Mandalorian,
Yeah, Mandalorian
pointing against
with his helmets off, or when he's dressed in the
Imperial driver outfit. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Or with him as the villain from the second Wonder Woman movie, because I think they made it
Oh,
for him.
Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
Maxwell Lord. I don't know if
Yeah.
Did
they
they
did
make a
that.
figure for that?
I don't know if they did, but maybe.
probably. There's
Custom
probably
Uh,
time.
100 of them at Walmart.
with his character from Game of Thrones.
Was he
The
in?
Viper.
Yeah, and
For
then he was apparently in Buffy back in the day.
Huh. I've
Wow,
watched.
I'm gonna have to go
I,
back and look at that because
I have to say that I've never watched an episode of Game of Thrones. Never.
I did the
I'm one of those
first,
people who just do
I did
not
the
care.
first season and a half.
I don't know.
That-
George R. Martin can just kiss my lily white Irish butt.
What did George do to you?
He didn't finish the series.
Let me get the appropriate doll and I'll show you.
what did
Where
George do?
where did George?
Show me on this dragon
Show
where
me
the
on
bad man hurt you.
Yeah, yeah.
You just point at it.
It was the wing. That's where.
I can remember people going, I got to get home from work because they had to go rush home to watch,
Game of Thrones.
And I was thinking, yeah, just because you wanted to see who was going to sleep with their sister or brother or, something
No,
else.
it was who's gonna get like what new horrific massacre was gonna happen, right? That was
Yeah.
always the
Which
major
is
talking
usually
points from
after
those shows. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, after the sister stuff, right? But that was the part everybody looked forward to. Is like, yeah, the incest stuff was kind of weird, but who all is going to get murdered
Kinda
this
weird.
week?
I mean, it's probably the same crowd that watched like True Blood and stuff like that.
Hey, I like
Man, that was good.
Hey, I'm not knocking the vampire
That was
genre.
good.
This one
but
over
it
here
got
watched True Blood. So did my sister.
Yeah.
So,
She
Jack,
watched
your
True
sister
Blood.
your sister's who got me hooked on it.
It got overdone. That's
It
all
was
I'm
too
saying.
much.
If Marvel wanted to put Blade out there, they should have seen that coming and said, "Okay, we've got our version of a vampire story."
They were ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can imagine
What are
if
you
they'd
talking
have dressed her like Rogue.
Even if they had just brought back
Yeah.
Wesley
Mhm.
Snipes.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, so can I. Sadly,
Yeah. Well,
Remco needed to make a brainwash where you just take your brain out, stick it in the thing, and then you put it back
It's
in.
clean again.
Clean, yeah.
I think the only one that I haven't seen anybody like complain about, or like NECA hasn't really said anything about. I mean, I think they've made one post about the tariff stuff, but
Well, I told you they're still putting out stuff that
at
like
normal price.
four turtles, monster turtles, cheaper than what you could get them if you bought them individually.
That's
You know,
right.
from the monster set. I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah. And NECA is a bit of its own dumpster fire before that.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
But
They got their own thing going on.
yeah.
they are also influencing the comic books now.
Yeah. NECA is really good as long as you don't open the box.
I
Just
lo-
keep them
yeah,
No,
and
that is not true.
I'm just joking. I said
They've
that
gotten better.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's still some problems when you open the box. You better
Yeah.
have that warm water or hair dryer near you. You want any of those joints to move.
Or
Yeah,
if apparently some of the blind boxes, which I still have a video I did for the second blind box I got, and I luckily didn't have this problem, but one of the guys that watched that video was saying, "Did any of your stuff have urine on it?" I'm like, "No."
Ugh.
Whoa.
Watched his video and he's like,
Whoa.
Oh,
"Man, this is wet. What's going on here?" And then
Some delivery
dirty
driver's like,
dogs are like,
oh yeah, I can't afford one of these. You enjoy your blind box.
Can I make a recommendation to NECA? Invest in some extras that you can give people parts of. Sideshow
Yeah.
does it with all of their toys. I'm sure there's plenty of other places that have, hey, we're going to take the, I don't know, support beams for your cartoon street scene that didn't come properly assembled in my box when you shipped it to me, and could send me some instead of asking me to return the whole thing and not get it back because it's no longer in stock. That would be great. Also, if you
Vince and I
have a
talked
pizza
about
sign
that
out,
25 years ago.
it is in stock again.
it is again. Yeah.
It is
That's
again,
people
but
send
the
it
thing
back.
is, it's the same price as my desk that I need, and I'm not gonna get. My
Right.
desk takes
Yeah.
priority over.
Vince, we talked about that like 25, 30 years ago. Start a third party company that would put out just like the guns and the tools for
Oh
G.I.
yeah,
Joe
all the
and
accessory,
all
or
the
just do
accessory
accessory
crap.
packs.
That'd be what's, yeah.
We started that conversation a long time ago and how that would just absolutely corner a market.
And it's probably way easier now.
Yeah, it finally started happening. Like I don't know what, 15 years
Back
ago.
in the day when we had to go to flea markets and resale shops and sit on the floor with a box of toys that they were
Accessories.
broke and they didn't know what to do with, so they throw it and you go, can I go through them? Yeah, go ahead and go through them.
And
And
pull out all the missing stuff we
you
had.
pull off all the parts
Absolutely.
that you knew went where, and then
Yep.
sometimes I'd go, here, these are what's people are going to look for, and here's mine. I'll help you sort them. You cut me a deal, and I get them cheap.
Yep.
Then I enjoyed sorting it.
Yeah, and that actually worked out for a while. I remember that.
I'm trying to remember what that Star Wars place was off of Westheimer, where the whole wall was painted Star Wars.
Oh,
I can't remember. Josh might remember that place. I think Kevin went with us one time. Kevin and Jeff and Josh. It was the one over there off of Montrose.
Yeah,
yeah, Montrose and Westheimer area. Yeah, right down there where all that activity was.
Well, yeah, right by all of the antique shops and everything.
Yeah, and the record store right there,
Record store,
a block from the original art.
The Hollywood Video that was over there that they usually had like other imports.
My venue, yeah, that whole 2 blocks around that corner was fantastic back in the day. There was so much variety that you could just go down there, and everybody in that area was so welcoming. I remember that because when I would take lunch breaks from the Art Institute when they were down there, you could just literally walk a block down there and go roughly 2 blocks square and find anything you're looking for, from fast food to the record store to the Star Wars place. And it was just like everybody was just like, "Hey, come on in, let's talk."
Yeah, and they wanted to sell.
Exactly.
I remember we walked and we went somewhere. It was over off of 6x610 by the Astrodome, and it was a big indoor mall.
Yes.
I walked into this toy store. The guy had tons of stuff, broken ones, multiples. And I was like, man, I could buy that, a couple of these cheap, and then cannibalize them into one functioning version of it.
Exactly.
I would go, well, how much you got for that one's not for sale. Oh, okay. Well, what about this? Oh, that one's not for sale. He did that to me like 5 times, and I asked him, I said, so are you just displaying this? Do you have anything for sale? And Christina was like, shh, moved me out of the store. No, you're embarrassing us. No, I mean, how much is the rug? I was just like, geez, man, are you running a business? Are you just trying to show off?
Yeah.
Are we talking about TJ here?
No, I wasn't going to go there with
TJ.
No,
TJ was.
Oh, he could be that way.
Yeah.
There was a freaking Transformer I wanted, and I went there for years and watched it collect dust until it was fuzzy. And I remember asking him how, and he would never come down on the price on it.
Never budge. Because he knew what he wanted.
Yeah, he knew what he was priced, and he knew he would eventually get it.
And that was the original.
Wasn't going to get it from me.
Yeah, the original place that was like 4 blocks from Nan's.
Yes. Well, that was the place he bought. He had another one, but he bought that one because he wanted it as a warehouse, because he wanted to become a distributor. So the whole back part of that was a warehouse.
Was his warehouse, yes. And he would never let any of the employees back there. He always told us what it was. This was back in the day when I worked for him, and then I ran the South Houston store. But he would always tell us what's back there in case we needed to know, but he would never let us back there to look. So we're like, I got to see one part of it where he started breaking boxes down and collect multiples of stuff like that. But that was like just through one door. But there was like 1,100 square feet of building I never got to see. And I was the manager at the time of South Houston. I'm like, well, what if I'm looking for this, or what if somebody asking for this? Well, then you send them to my store, was always his answer. And I'm like, come on. How am I supposed to help business if I don't know what we're
how do you build business,
Right.
If you're always sending them to the main store instead of you. And what was sad was a lot of them that had that kind of a situation, you were paid by how much the store made. Yeah. But you were always referring them to the main store. It was cutting into your sales and cutting into what you made,
Now, to be fair, HBC was never that way. when Jerry had all 7 stores, 6 or 7 stores, he tried to make sure each one was independent, and but each one had its own niche because of where they were located. And if somebody was looking for something, he would say, "Okay, it's here," but he would have us take them when we went. We would meet up
When you went to go pick up or do something, you brought them back to your store. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we would meet up at the distributor, which at the time was Capital, when they were on that side street in the Red Barn, and then before they moved over there by the Dome. He'd say, "Okay, you bring this to the meetup, and then go from there." And sometimes he would say, "Okay, since you're part of the deal, we'll include you in the sale. Give you a little tip or whatever," which was something Jerry was always very good at, because he was never a fan of TJ and said, anything TJ does, I'm going to try and do the opposite of, because it's the right thing to do. And Jerry was actually, he wanted to make money on the business because he had so many stores.
Richard is blowing up my phone with images. I'm like, dude, trying to do something.
But Jerry, in HBC Comics, because I was the manager of the Clear Lake store, and I had a condo right behind the building. Jerry wanted the profit, but at the same time, he wanted these things to get into the people's hands because he understood that was the market. That's what drove the market, the people coming in and looking for these things. And that's eventually part of the reason, though, why he got a lot more of the business before it got too big and it imploded.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple of incidents at a couple of stores, like the Humble store. One of the guys that was there, and a lot of people don't remember this, but the manager at the Humble store was, I can't remember his name, but he ended up stepping away. So I ended up filling in at the Humble store a lot. One of the guys who was at the Humble store ended up falling in love with a stripper, followed her home, and killed her and her boyfriend. And it made all the news down there. And then Jerry was like, anything that's connected to him, you got to get rid of it. So I was in the store looking for stuff for him, and I found this tape, 90-minute tape, okay? And this is the craziest thing, because I had the tape forever and it got lost. 90 minutes of somebody doing something with a chainsaw. It was all chainsaw sounds, like sawing through whatever it was, okay? And it was nuts.
This just turned into a true crime podcast.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm holding on to this tape, and I had that tape for like 10 years, and it vanished one day. And I'm like, oh man, because after a while, you just got used to hearing it, because I would play it once in a while for background noise for some strange reason. But it was after that a lot of the people in the stores in HBC started going, and that was it ended up being part of the decline. And the Clear Lake store closed out before the Humble store did. So I ended up driving up there more. Jerry was
who was the and when you get older, folks, you forget names, but you can remember details. Who was the guys who went around and would find a successful comic shop and open up really close to them, and then undercut? They would just bring in boxes and boxes of 50-cent, 25-cent, and dollar comics, and just try to just tank your business. And then they would try to come in, and after you quit, then they would try to take over that area.
And then they would be garbage, because all they had was stuff to try and compete. They never had original material.
Wasn't that Legends?
I know.
What was it? Legends?
Legends.
I don't know if it was Legends. It might have been.
Because there was
Legends, there was Bedrock.
They tried to open up the one over there by All Star off of El Dorado.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah. There was Mike, who had his one place, and then two.
Yeah, it was like New Horizons or whatever.
Yeah,
he moved into Pasadena, and he ran his out of his house.
Right, and then he had another thing going on. Then he closed both, and then he ended up passing away. But it might have been Legends.
But no, Bedrock, that's the one good thing about Bedrock, is that they would work together on like trying to get things. Because like if one of the stores had it, they would actually have it shipped down to whatever location you go to be able to buy from them.
They developed on
Man,
the
the only problem I have with Bedrock is I ordered from the Clear Lake and off of by Bay Area Boulevard. I ordered that
yeah,
friggin'
they moved into
um,
the area we were in HC.
thing with McCready and the wolf, with him
Yeah.
with the shotgun aiming through the fence at the wolf on the other,
The dog.
thing on the dog. And they ordered it at the Bedrock off of Westheimer, the main store. And they called me and go, "Hey, man, your figure's in. You're gonna come up and get it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." I think I said the weekend. So we drove up there, and I go, "Hey, I'm here to pick up a figure. It's Vince shooter, blah blah blah." And he goes, "Well, no, we don't have that."
Wah, wah.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" "No, I was just called by what was it, Jerry or whatever his name was, to tell me to come pick it up." And he looked and he goes, and then one of my friends at work there went over and looked at the last shipping, and it did, and it got sold. They got it, had my name on it. He goes, "It had your name on it. We put the sticky on it."
And somebody put it
And
out.
somebody pulled that off, put it out, and it sold that same day. And I was like, I never did that to anybody, and I never would or will if I ever get another store. You don't you treat your customers right. You don't, because I've known too many people who you would order, you have a subscription box, you got something. If you didn't pick up when they wanted you to pick up, they would pull that, especially if it had gone up in price like within a week or two.
Right.
Because I had guys who would come in once a month, every 2 months, and every 3 months, and they did it like clockwork. So I always knew I was going to get my money. But I've known people who would pull them and sell them, and then the customer come in and they go, "Oh, you didn't order that, or we didn't get enough of them." I didn't like that.
No. That's and when Dad and I had nights out in Maytown, we understood because 'cause Dad would always ask me, "Well, how did you handle it at this store or handle it at this store?" And I said, "If they come in and you can guarantee a sale, you hold it. We would only pull it if it was an essential thing, and then we let them know, and we tried to get it on back order, which was
Mine
very rare that we
Mine
did
was
that.
3 calls. If I have to call you 3 times past your date that you've told me you're coming in, and I'd give them a week because things
Yeah.
happen. But if I asked on that 3rd call, I would pull your stuff, and I had people come in, and say, "Hey, where's my stuff?" Look, you know the rules, and I called you several times. And I'm sorry, I am in a business. I have to pay bills here.
Yeah.
So I pulled them. I can try to get them for you again. And normally you're gonna never mind, and then they'd want to see their list because usually they were spending $300-400 a month on comics, and that's know what you can afford to spend. Back to what we were saying about toys.
Well, but that's the thing though, is that when you were at All Star, I mean, a lot of the guys that came in there were doctors, lawyers, everything, all the expensive
Oh
buyers.
yeah, and a lot of them who bought some questionable comics that I had to keep in the back in.
Oh yeah.
Golly, I didn't even know some of that stuff existed
Hmm.
until I ordered it, and it was
I
like, "What
I
is
learned all
this?"
about that early.
And then Jason, did you order that? Because I knew I only ordered those for the people who had a box. I never bought any to put on the shelf.
No.
Yeah.
He's sitting there reading the comic, and I'm like, first off, not up
And then the
front,
store-
and where did you get that? And he was just pulling them out of the box and reading them. I was like, man, they ain't not. That's like taking a guy's bride on their wedding night. You don't touch that. You don't read it. That they get to touch first, and then they let you read it. Keep your hands
Yeah.
off.
Don't touch another man's comic. Come on.
No,
Or video game or toy or anything.
I had a rule in my house that my son broke all the time. Don't touch it. I play it first, or I do this first.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that was a really good comic, Dad. You're gonna like reading it. What the hell?
Yeah. I learned about that's when I started learning about the hentai, and when I was working for in the South Houston store for TJ, all that Japanese stuff he would bring in.
You're turning it.
Yeah, and I was always very careful.
I'm not exactly sure what they're doing.
And
I
I
got a
had
lot
a
of
guy.
snippets flying.
Remember Paul? At some
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, yeah. Look at him laugh because he knows where I'm going with this.
Is it? Hold on, hold on. Is it
Paul
safe?
was the one who ended up having the South Houston store closed because I said, no, I don't care who it is. I don't care how much they spend. If they're not of age, they don't get these books. And what happened? Paul let some 11-year-old kid have some hentai. And his mother worked for one of the newspapers in the South Houston, Pasadena area and blew that crap up the minute she saw that he had those books. And I'm like, what the hell? And she came after me because you're the manager. And I understood that she was mad, but I'm like, listen, I can explain to you exactly what happened. And TJ was like, nope, you're taking the hit for it. So I handed him the keys. I said, nope, it's your problem
What had happened was
now.
I was about to say before you finished telling the story, was this going to be appropriate for not that
Oh, you were thinking about some of the other adventures with Paul, but yeah.
No, Paul was. I could really
Yeah.
get into some
How
raunchy
would you
stories
get
with
your
Paul.
superpower? What would you do to get your
Yeah,
superpower?
No,
he
no, no,
I'm
started.
going to end it there. I'm going to end
No.
it there.
He
Just
started
throwing that out there.
one of the most controversial conversations. It was the first time that
I wish
ever
we'd have
happened.
recorded it though.
Yeah,
Wish we'd have recorded
go
it.
back and look at our early episodes. We've had that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, I cleaned it up as much as I could about the books,
yeah.
but that's all I'm going to say about it is I
Right.
I learned about what people want very early on.
Well, working at a game store and stuff, and parents would come in with their kids, and their kids are like, "I want Grand Theft Auto, or I want this mature game," and it's like, no. Let me explain this to you, ma'am, what this is. And the kid be like,
Yeah,
laugh at me because I was trying to save him from things that he shouldn't be playing at like 11 or 12.
and that goes back to another story I got. Uh, Back when the '89 Batman came out, by the time it hit theaters, I'd already seen it twice at special previews because I got invites. The third time I went was in Baytown. It was an early screening, and I'm just out there with friends who I brought with me, and I'm like, okay, then we're just BSing like a bunch of 20-year-olds would, and the language was gonna fly a little bit, and some lady behind me goes, "Excuse me, I have my son here," and I looked at her, and I said, "Ma'am, do you know what you're about to take your son into?" And she just kind of went, and she was thinking '66 Batman. And I'm trying like, no, ma'am, this is not what you're thinking. So,
How are you spending your nights?
it just it was one of those things where, preconceived notions of what you're going to buy wasn't ended up being what it was. And she was railing on the fact that there's going to be problems with language and there's going to be problems with all this stuff. And I'm like, ma'am, you are at the wrong movie right now. So, and that ties back into what we're dealing right now, because a lot of companies are trying to put product out there that and recognize, but because of various things, they have to be a little more obscure with it, or they have to say, okay, we're going to put this out there, but you're going to get a case of figures, but only one of them is going to be the chaser. The rest of them are going to sit there forever. And the minute they're put up on the shelves, people are going to be like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to be able to go out and get everything I want. And then you're going to have people in Walmart clobbering it out for one special figure.
Thanks.
As if you were lucky that the chase figure made it to the shelf.
Right. It was basically Black Friday every week.
Kevin, what were you going to say?
Thanks, McFarlane. I wanted
Yeah,
a Cyborg Superman.
Yeah, Cyborg
get
Superman. I didn't get one. My dad didn't get one. You didn't get one. It's like I want to be able to complete my reign of Superman, but
Yeah, but no, they've got that horrendous cyborg Superman that looks like he was spawned by Freddy Krueger
Yeah,
with a giant clawed hand. I'm like, oh no.
not that one. No thanks.
Wow,
Yeah.
I forgot David was still here. He's just been so quiet sitting in the
Yeah,
background.
y'all. I don't have a lot to talk about with toys and game stores and all that. That wasn't my bag.
We
when I was
promise we
growing
will
up.
we'll do a thing with
I'm-
tabletops and Pokemon cards.
I'm sorry, David, that you were deprived when you were young.
No, I've said before that like I specifically like got disenfranchised with action figures at a very young age because I got it was a Guts Man, right? I was so excited because like I'd been watching the Mega Man cartoon. Don't ask me why. I love Guts Man back in the day, and I there was this figure and it looked really cool, and he came with this little barrel that he could like flip over his head and throw. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. And my parents got it for me, and that's literally all he did. It was just a little switch. It was like the equivalent of a McDonald's toy, right? It was just a little switch on the back, and he just did this. And I was like, this is the dumbest, lamest pile of garbage ever, because I grown up on Legos, right? So Legos have like, yeah, they're not the most fully articulate thing, but Legos are more articulate than that pile of garbage, action figure. And so from then on, I was like, action figures, all that stuff. I was like, I don't care. I have no desire to own any of those things or any of that. So yeah, and then like comics, I watched a lot of the cartoons. I read a handful of comics, but it was never a thing that I went out of my way for. It was always video games and going and hang. But even video games, because I didn't have consoles at my house for a long time, it was just going over to friends' houses, playing stuff at friends' houses. So it was never going to the stores. It was my friends would go to the stores. I would go to my friend's house, and then we would play video games and then go play basketball or whatever. So it was just a different world, man. Different worlds.
So you were living vicariously through your friends.
I miss those days
For
though.
part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those days brought people together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure
And,
did.
Yeah.
yeah.
Usually they were,
go
and
play
when they
Sega
got
at your
together
friend-
at my house, they were hungry.
Yeah. And they ate you out of house and home, huh?
Right. Hamburger helper for everybody.
That's that
No,
thing.
what
No.
was it? What was the pizza place I
It
used to
was
go?
it was CC's. It was a
CC's
lot.
or yeah,
It was Ryan's or Golden Corral or some Chinese buffet.
yeah.
Something that
Shipley's
you could
Donuts.
pay like, maybe a little over $100 to feed, 15 growing boys
And one girl.
And one girl
at
You
your
know,
house.
it's
ruled the roost with an iron fist.
He's one of the good ones, man. He's one of the good ones. We
Yeah.
definitely needed more people
I
like
don't know.
that growing up for sure.
Yeah.
See, before you guys were all the focus of what he had to deal with, this was back when your Uncle Gene, and I would be over there, and he would have either a hamburger helper and milk ready to go, or we would be doing Shipley's day old donuts and grocery
Oh,
bags,
yeah, well, yeah.
We still did that.
wanted to,
garbage bags worth. I mean, like
when
30
we
gallon
wanted
bag
had a sweet tooth. It was 2 Shipley's.
right
Oh,
down
wow.
the street.
Yeah, you'd hit the one off of Fuquay. You'd hit the one
There was one like a block away from
There was one right there
by
at
Dope.
by the
there was that
McDonald's at
24.
Clearwood.
Well, but that was
35.
okay. That was the one that was a 24-hour donut
Yeah,
shop.
that's where the cops hung out.
Yeah. That is not there. I mean, like I remember that building so vividly, with that
Yeah,
white blue.
It was Shipley's, and then no, it was Marilee Donuts first, and it was family owned. Then they sold it, and it became Shipley's, and it was that for a long, long time. And then about the time they built the what was it, that bus area where you
Over
would
there
park,
by
yeah,
Beltway 8. Yeah.
and you would then everything over there changed after that.
How dare Big Donut take out the little guy?
Oh.
Man, when it was Marilee, you could go buy a donut that was about the size of a tire
Mm.
on it was like 50 cents. When we'd go get a couple of dollars worth, and we'd go set up under the overpass, and we'd eat one and then roll the rest of them down the overpass and see if it could make it across the two. There was 2 lanes this way and 2 lanes this way with a median, and we would bet to see how far it would go, roll down and go. And I remember one time me and Gene were doing it, and he let it go. And just, I'm sorry, love you, brother. A cop goes like this, and it goes boom, and lands on the hood, and you hear whoop whoop, and we were just like, pew. He ran one side of the freeway, and I ran the other, and I was like, oh shit, how am I gonna get to Gene? The cop's like, "Hey, they deliver now."
Yeah, I bet he was. It's like, man, I just need to roll up here more often.
Gosh,
Oh,
sorry. As
good day.
I love it. That's good.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up, and then we'll make the next one about movies.
Yeah, we need.
Well,
Yeah,
but by then, a lot of us will have seen Thunderbolts.
yeah. I'm gonna go see it this
So
weekend.
put that on your calendar, David. We're gonna.
man, I'd see it again. Man, it is such a fantastic movie.
I'm gonna finish watching it tonight.
Mm,
Well,
good.
to capsulate this episode, don't ever be afraid of who you are, what you like, and then collect what you want as long as it doesn't affect your budget. And always remember the good times. Always make new memories too, because those are always good as well. Um, guys, what do you got to say?
Watch out for Big Donut.
Just don't let other people make you judge yourself. You know what you like, enjoy it. It's your life. You live it the way you want to. Just know the limits. And with everything, there's always a limit.
Mhm.
And believe in yourself. You
Yeah.
are always going to be your biggest enemy, but you can always be your biggest cheerleader.
Help us, Obi-Wan, David. Send us out of
What?
here.
Yeah, don't let other people judge you, but you judge everyone else harshly and efficiently
Yeah, that's right.
because they're incorrect and
That's
you
because
are
that's the
correct.
American way.
That's right.
Judgment? How about we don't?
Well, I was going to say that, it's okay if you're unprivileged to have all this awesomeness. No, I'm not joking. No.
Yeah.
That's a jab at Dave.
I
No.
mean, look, my dad taught me how to drain threes like Steph Curry when I was in elementary school, so that was awesome. And then the entire neighborhood turned into skateboarding potheads and stopped playing basketball, so I lost that ability. But hey, playing basketball and skinning up knees and tearing up elbows and all that, that was just as good. So yeah, y'all had the comic book shops and I had asphalt.
Send your
Well, hey,
basketballs, Kara.
you did meet Andrew, and which inevitably meant to us. So
Yes, those were some great times of Andrew being at the house and having the dartboard outside and us deciding to play progressively more dangerous versions of horse of like being across the garage and sitting down and backwards. And it was like I looking back on some of those and wondering how on earth we didn't accidentally stab each other with darts at some point. Although Andrew did have one amazing shot where he threw it backwards, sitting down in a chair all the way in the far corner of my garage and nailed a bullseye. And at that point, we just kind of said we're not ever topping that. We're good. So it's
yeah,
good times, man. Good times.
Man, that's good. We had very similar experiences, I think. I'm not tall enough to be good at basketball, but skate well, maybe you didn't do the skate. I was a skateboarding, not the pothead, skateboarding kid. Old punk rocker, but also really into comics and got into video games, and so like kind of a hybrid of them all. But I kind of met everybody a little later in
yeah.
in time, but man, it's been a good ride. So
Yeah, it's
hate
been a
it.
good run.
Right on.
I don't hold anything against anybody. It's cool that y'all got to get what y'all got, and I wouldn't trade mine for the world. So we're all
Yeah.
good.
And there it is, right there.
Yep.
In other words, I got mine, you get yours.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be more of if you haven't hit it yet, keep your pump.
Keep trying. Your chance will come.
I just,
Keep
in
trying.
my mind, I thought he was.
Yeah.
No,
not
no,
going
no,
there.
no.
Once again-
It didn't go. It didn't go. That was
Once
the whole
again, we've
point. It was
gone
like,
off the rails.
yes, exactly. It's okay to breathe, Dad.
Vinny, close us out.
Well, that's been this episode of the Kev Level podcast.
Yeah, where's that Apple sponsorship?
He's got his content. We're good.
Yeah.
Hit me up on Venmo, and you can donate to the show. No, I'm just kidding.
You can reach me at bigdonut@com.
I'm going to get that handle right now. Big Donut.
Big donut. Dude, that needs to be your ex or what's the other one? One of your handles somewhere.
Yeah.
What a
Old Big
kick.
Donut.
They're the ones that are the stranger.
Big donut.
Anyway, wrap us up, Vinny.
All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have memories of collecting or just things in life that you've experienced that you want to talk about that relate to anything discussed in this episode, please tell us down below in the comments.
So like and subscribe. Come on back for more. We got wacky content for days to come. We love you guys. Thank you
Peace
for
out.
being